Hello, welcome to another episode of How to Run Profitable Retreats. I am so excited to welcome you to this amazing episode today where I have Quirk talking about integrity behind retreats, and we get to learn so much from him. So I want to give you a little bit of like a snapshot of what's coming in for today. All right, so basically, John runs retreats once a month and he does local retreats. So we're going to be talking about how you can reduce stress by actually hosting local retreats, and how locations are actually the icing on the cake, but not the must for a retreat to happen to be transformational, and how to build your business focusing on high value, and really how to see that sales are a service, right? So this is so important, and I want you to remember that at the end of the day, we want to focus on the service to humanity that we're doing when we're hosting retreats, rather than just on the monetary results out of it. Oh my gosh, you are in for a ride. This is such an exciting episode. Thank you for listening. And please make sure that you follow John and connect with him and his affiliate network for retreat leaders to promote their retreats. See you later. Oh my gosh, this was such an amazing episode. As I am recording this outro, we recorded this episode a while ago, and I went and listened to it all over again, and it gave me some amazing messages that I really needed to listen to, and I hope it's the same for you, right? Really on how we have to focus that retreats are transformational, and we want to focus that we are doing a service for humanity. It's not about the financial results that come afterwards. Yes, those are amazing, but they are the result of us serving people in the highest level, right? And how we also don't have to be fighting to get people into retreats, because there's so many different retreats out there, but people need things in a different way. How we don't need to be Joe Dispenza to actually be creating transformation in the world, and really how you want to show up in the world, and then from there to become masterful to like help people that are a few steps behind, and how sometimes you just need to hire the right people to cross those bridges, right, more quickly in spaces where maybe you're not super keen to like, or that's maybe not your specialty, right? That's why, for example, I created Mastering the Art of Retreat Planning, and I'm so excited in all the different ways that it's evolving, because I get to help people cross that bridge when they want to host retreats, but there might be so many questions like, what happens if I put a deposit down for my retreat and it doesn't sell? What if no one signs up? What if I don't have a community large enough to sell my retreat to? All these questions that come to mind when we're thinking, I really want to host a retreat. And I'm here to help you through that process. So as usual, please go check out my space. I am hosting a 5-day challenge to sold out retreats very soon. So please feel free to actually go and sign up, where I get to meet you, we get to spend time together and connect. And we can all build this beautiful community that helps transform the world. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you next week. Hello, so welcome back to another episode at this podcast where you're going to learn all about retreat planning. I am so excited to have today here John. And John is a founder of SoulCal Retreats. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about his story. And then we're going to move into this amazing conversation when it comes to integrity, and also how do you run a successful retreat business where you are actually having retreats every single month. So John, back in 2013, was stressed out as a news reporter in New York City, and he was lacking purpose and wanted to find more joy and meaning in life. And the best thing that happened to him that year is that he got fired from his dream job. Can you imagine this? And these things happen. So imagine like the best thing, right? So it turns out that for him, making a living was far from living. So the day he got fired, he walked away into a yoga class. And while he had been practicing for years, this class just hit him differently. So Nowhere to be after class, no emails to answer. All he had to do was focus on himself. Fast forward 3 years, and he started to apply my can't stop, won't stop mentality to teaching yoga. In order to survive rent and the cost of living in the Big Apple, he was teaching 20 and more classes a week. Wow, that's a lot. And it started to take a toll. So, remembering how he felt when he moved everything else aside to become a yoga teacher, he decided he needed to take a break for himself. So he picked Costa Rica. Oh, I love Costa Rica, and decided he would go somewhere quiet where he could just practice yoga and surf every day. So after sharing his vision with his students as a way to inspire them to make space for themselves when they needed it, then something magical happened. People started asking if they could join. Wow. Pretty soon he was being asked about the yoga retreat he was leading. He didn't even know yoga retreats were a thing. And 6 years and dozens of retreats around the world later, he realized this is his dharma, his life's work, and his true calling. Once we step out of our day to day, only then we can truly step into a higher version of ourselves. When we come together in community with this common goal to move, to breathe, to eat good food, and laugh, it has been John's experience that this is truly some powerful medicine. He is someone passionate about helping people feel better and sharing what he knows and what has helped him and many others. He takes that work seriously without taking himself too much seriously. And we were gonna experience this today, so hang on for this. And he strives to meet people where they are on their wellness journey and on their path to self discovery. It takes time and it takes work, but above all, it takes a willingness to say yes, yes. If you feel like called to join us for what could be something truly transformational, I hope you'll reach out and see if a retreat with him is also a fit. So I'm so excited to have you here today, John, and so glad that we are taking this time to have this amazing conversation about retreats and also like the integrity behind them, right? We were talking behind the scenes a little bit about this, and how it's so juicy and the conversation is going to be amazing. So please stay while we are here with John for another episode. Thank you for joining us, John.
Thank you. It's been so long since I've read that, so it was really nice to kind of hear it back, and it's all still true. So I'm really glad that like what I'm kind of on the path on now, it really feels synergistic to when I first started. So not too much has changed. Some things have changed, but that hasn't changed. So thank you for that.
Thank you. So tell us a little bit about how did you turn like just running a couple of retreats to actually running them once a month? Because I know there is people in this audience that is their dream to run multiple retreats per year.
Yeah, I mean, for me, kind of the part of the story about teaching 20 yoga classes a week was real, and it was real in terms of I was living in New York City, which is one of, if not the most expensive city in the world. So that was mostly out of necessity, was to try to sort of make a living, right? Like 30, 40, maybe if you're lucky, $50 a pop on yoga classes. And anybody who's watching this who's teaching yoga classes knows it's not just the hour that you're there, right? It's an hour of planning your sequence and making a playlist and driving to the property. And you also have costs for that, right? Like you've got your gas, your transit, your Metro card at the time, whatever it is. So, for me, when I first ran a retreat, my goal was to just have a good time with a lot of really cool people that were wanting to go on a bit of a vacation that meant more. That was really, I called them vinyasa vacations. It was just like vinyasa, like in a vacation, like a little bit of yoga in a vacation. But the conversations and stuff that we were having were really powerful and impactful. And I saw it as something life changing for them and for me, not just because of the experience, but then I walked away and I was like, whoa, I made more money doing this in a week than I make in like a couple months teaching yoga. And I've like got a tan and done something really cool. I've gone to a cool place in the world. So that was the first sort of nugget of like, oh, this could be like something. And then I realized like the logistics and all of that. It metamorphosed into what it is now. When I was in Bali, I actually decided I didn't want to live in New York anymore. I was like really like, it was tropical and beautiful there. And it was rainy and cold. And like, I got home to New York and I was like, this sucks. I don't want to do this. And so I moved to Southern California. And so Southern California really became the match to the flame, like, or to the gas, so to speak, because now I have this environment and this backdrop that's beautiful, that's welcoming, it's a destination for people. And that was sort of the last little piece to the puzzle, where now people are coming every single month to do retreats with us in San Diego. I've actually stopped doing a lot of the international stuff just because this has been so abundant and so busy. Although we're going to start doing that again soon now that travel's open.
Mm.
But yeah, so that's kind of how it all came into place, basically.
That's amazing. And if I can like sum up something that is very clear for him, if like from here, right? If you are doing retreats, monthly retreats, it might be a little bit of like a lot of work and stress to be planning international retreats every single month with all the logistical pieces, right? So I think you nailed it in the way that you have one location where you host most of your retreats, or right now all of them, but then maybe you choose 3 or 4 times a year you do international retreats where people can travel with you, but then it will allow you also for all the pieces that need to come into place for an international retreat, right?
For sure. And I mean, if you're doing them close to home, we do have one venue that I work with mostly now just because it checks all the boxes and it's a great fit and they give me a really good price because I'm there every single month. But I've worked with God, like a half dozen places in Southern California. And especially during COVID with travel being so volatile because people are traveling from other places to come visit us, it actually gave me a lot of flexibility. Whereas, like, I didn't have to put out some big deposit and cross my fingers and hope that I was going to be able to fill all these beds and bedrooms. Whereas I had three kind of tiers of like a smaller, a middle, and then a bigger. And it took a lot of the pressure off of me. And I could just go about selling the retreat. And I think, ultimately, like, people like the destination, but the venue itself is, maybe I know is for a fact, is not the selling point. It's kind of just the icing on the cake. So the program and where it is and what it is, right? That's really the meat of it, right? It's the venue is kind of just like the vegetables, it's off to the side.
Yes.
It can elevate, it can help, but it's not going to be the thing that sells your retreat.
Oh, I totally agree with this. It's like a nice to have for me. Like it's nice to have a beautiful location in an exotic destination, but it's not a must, right? And I think this is where we're going to go into this conversation about the integrity and really coming from a place of purpose, because what is really a must, and at least for me, and I believe for you as well, is that the purpose of why you're doing this, it's a key piece, right? It's the cake. It's not the icing. It's not the cherry. It's the whole thing. Like it's really the piece that is the most important one, because it either makes it or breaks it, right?
For sure. And like the venue, I use this analogy as, like, say you were flying to Los Angeles, right? And you wanted to go do the Hollywood Walk of Fame and you wanted to pick all these things that you wanted to go do. You would pick a hotel that was mostly just around what it is that you wanted to do, whether it was a Sheraton or a Hilton or you have an idea of a price point and what you wanted to have, a swimming pool or whatever. But within the scope of that, right? Like, again, you're not flying there to go to the Sheraton, you're flying there to do all the things that you're doing while you're there. So that was a real light bulb moment for me where I could start to sort of shop around for different venues, and then the prices would be less if it was closer to the event. So I was actually more of in a position of power rather than waiting and hoping that my retreat would sell, which we've all been there, of like either running no or loss profit, retreats, which is just such a bummer. So, but yeah, and then, as far as you being of integrity and wanting to really communicate what it is that you're wanting to teach and share and help people with, like, that's ultimately, like you said, the cake, the number one star asterisk, like that's the thing that has to be in place. And I see that with so many people as they pick the location or they pick the chef or they like put up all the fancy pictures, and like that's great as a catch for people, but what is it that you're really wanting to offer? That's what's got to be at the front of your mind. How are you going to be of service?
Um, I can only assume that, like for you, because your purpose is so important, and everything else comes like kind of like secondary, is why you have people coming back, right? Because if you have the pretty pictures and everything, but then you come and the retreat is not really transformational, or you just see that it was just another revenue avenue for the person hosting it, or just because they wanted to go on a holiday there, so they decided, let's do a retreat here because I want to travel there, right? Then it's very likely that they would not come back, right?
For
Do
sure.
you have a lot of people coming back to your retreats?
Yeah, I've had people come back 3 times. I've had multiple people come back. I've had people come themselves and then bring back like a family member, a daughter. Like I've had a fair amount of repeat business. I mean, I've started now to step into the space with monthly retreats of like I have to create a bigger network. Like I have to start to understand social media advertising. But I've done like Google ads. I've done like so many things that I spent a lot of money on, frankly, and didn't really get me anywhere. Really, what the business has been built on is that component of wanting to deliver something that is just crazy high value. Retreats are such a big commitment for somebody. They're such a vulnerable space, their time, their money, they're flying in for a lot of these retreats. Like that is such a huge commitment, and especially if you're somebody who isn't famous or hasn't written New York Times bestsellers books, you have to think about the rapport that it's going to take to get somebody to say yes, right? And I think again, that's the missing component is like everything can look good, but you have to deliver such high value, like off the charts value, that people will be like, well, I almost can't not do this, right? Like that's what you want it to feel like. You want it to feel like a full body heck yes for people, And there's people who
I
are salesmen than me. It's mine is so clear and like what I want to achieve for people and what I want to help people with.
Actually, this is something that I really teach very deeply because I'm so passionate about it in my programs, right? Is when you put out together, like you put a retreat together, right? Like you're like, this is my dream retreat. The first client who should be saying yes to that retreat should be you, right?
Yeah.
Like your whole body should be saying, "Oh my God, yes, I want this. Yes,
I love
yes."
that.
Like if I say, if you are not your ideal client for your own retreat, go back and fix it because there is something wrong. You should be saying yes to every
I
single
love
piece
that.
that
And
you're putting.
I'll tell you a funny story. I've been shopping for retreats because I wanted to go to Thailand. Like I've been dying to go to Thailand for the longest time, mostly for myself, but also to do like some research for a retreat, maybe to do myself there. And then I just started shopping for retreats all over the place. And I was so like uninspired. I was like, I'd rather go on my retreat, like, and then all of these other retreats. And I say that with so much like humbleness, but it's like, I love that. Like, I love that my retreat speaks to exactly what it is that I would want to do and I would want to deliver to people. If you don't have that level of love for what it is that you're doing, you got to go back to the drawing board.
Exactly. So for everyone listening to this, there is this huge, huge, massive invitation. If you're putting a retreat together and you're hesitant about it in any piece, go
Mm.
back to the drawing board.
Yes. Yeah. I
Go.
mean, literally, like, I've been working with some folks about, like just even building their landing page or their content around what it is that they're doing. And a lot of them are sharing really beautiful things about what they do and what they're passionate about. And that's great. Of course, you need to develop that expertise with people, right? But there's a lot of people are missing the element of like, well, what's the guest experience going to be like? What is the benefits for them? What are you taking them through? You know what I mean? This is not an advertisement for you. This is an advertisement for what is for them. You know what I mean? And it's so funny because I see it in really smart and really well-intentioned people. It's just like losing sight of like, call it your client, your guest, whatever. But like, that's your tribe member. That's your person who's like coming, who you're wanting to serve. Like you have to get that level of love for them before they're even through your door, before they've ever given you a single dollar.
Oh, yes, I totally agree. Like, I believe like sales pages or retreat pages, however you want to call them, I am not scared about calling them a sales page because they are, right?
Sales is
That's
not bad. It's not a dirty word.
Yeah, but there are so many people like mainly in the spiritual world that you might feel a little bit like triggered by that, right? Like
Sure.
I am supposed to make money out of this, right? Like it's kind of like it's a little bit crazy sometimes, like we get into this fear space because sometimes we believe that the spiritual world or the wellness world is not something that you're supposed to be charging for. But how can you show up with an overflowing cup if your
Mm.
cup is empty, if you cannot pay your bill? How can you really show up for your clients if you are thinking about how you're going to pay your next rent?
you're probably not
Yeah,
going to show your best version, right? So
sure.
really being
I,
very
I've heard
results driven.
totally. And I've heard it said many times, and I don't think it really clicked, especially until like COVID, when I did get pushed up against the wall of like getting down to like my last savings and really an existential crisis of like, do I even want to continue with this business? Because there was nothing coming in. There's no steady paycheck when you're an entrepreneur, right? It's just your work has to sell. Like it has to sell, and you're out there in that sort of way. But I'd always thought about it through a lens of just like that. Like I have to sell to make money to survive. When you lose sight of that, right? And people will say in the entrepreneurship world and sales world, and I've heard it so many times, it's like you have to think of your sales as a service, right? Like, and almost to the point, not almost, but to the point of, if somebody who needs your product or service is not buying it and doesn't know about it, you're actually doing a disservice. And I was like, oh, that kind of sounds like too much or whatever, but I really bought in on that. And now it's like, yeah, like I have people to help. I have people to serve. I need to get this message to them. And it's not to sell them, it's because I literally know that they'll benefit. And I've had so many people come through my retreats tell me how transformational, life changing they are. It's like now I don't even have to prove it to myself anymore, which is a big thing for a lot of people. I'm sure we'll touch on that. But, it's,
Oh,
yeah, it's really important. Like if you're not getting your content in front of people, and you're not doing the work, and you don't feel that full body hell yes for your own product and your own service, well, then you're not going to get there.
yeah. I really believe that even like up to the way of the pricing of your retreat, if you wouldn't pay that for a retreat in for anyone else, why would you believe that someone else would pay it to you?
100%.
I have so
100%.
many people asking me, I want to sell my retreat for $5,000. And I'm like, you can, of course. Would you pay $5,000? No. Well, that you're probably not believing enough in what you're offering or in someone else. Like, I invest so much in training. I invest in myself so
Mm.
much. And I pay crazy expensive courses and I do it happily because I'm like, oh my gosh, this way I can serve people better. I will serve my clients from the best place that I can.
Yeah.
And
Well, just think about how good it feels like you go to the grocery store, right? And your favorite thing is on sale. And so you love it. You were going to buy it anyway, right? But you got this like smoking deal on it. How good does it feel like when you get crazy value for your cost? Now on the flip side, like everybody's bought something that they regretted. You know what I mean? Like I just bought brand new hockey skates that were $700. I tried them once and I hated them. I went back to my old skates, and that like it kept me up one night. Like I was literally laying in bed, like, oh my god, I made this $700 purchase, and I don't even like the thing that I bought. I mean, think about the polar opposites, like the polar ends of that, right? So you have to think about that. Yes, when you're providing this and when you're pricing it, like you want people to not just walk around and be like, it was good. You want people to walk around and be like, oh my god, I would have paid. I've had people say that to me. I would have paid double for this retreat. And part of me is like, yes, I wish you had paid double. But part of me is like, really, mostly like, oh my god, that feels so good that's how valuable you felt like this was.
yes, the value has to surpass the price.
Mm.
As
Agreed.
simple like that. Like when you come to a retreat, you don't come for the rooms, you don't come for the food, you come for the experience, for the transformation,
You.
right?
They're buying you. That's what you have to
Yes.
think. They're buying you.
Yes, I love that you're mentioning this because it's so important. So many people I've seen, like I've done so many reviews of pricings in retreats, and I'm like, and where is your fee? Like you're thinking about profit, but like how much are you charging for 3 months of like or 6 months of putting your retreat together, right? Because they're like, oh, I'm making this for these. No, but I am charging. These are the days that I'm gonna be there, like 3 days. So I'm charging, I don't know, $600, whatever. Doesn't matter. And I'm like, but what about the other 3 months that you put work behind? Like, where are those? Oh no, but with the profit. I'm like, yeah, but the profit is kind of like flexible, right? Like if you don't have that many people, then your 3 months are wasted. Like, I'm like, make sure that you are really valuing all the work that you're putting into planning this retreat. And I'm not saying this for the sense of like everyone sell your retreat super high. Everyone has their own price that is perfect for them, right?
Yeah.
But
Well, when like you pay any specialist, right? Like if you pay somebody to come fix the plumbing at your house, right? You're not just paying them for the hour, you're paying them for the years of experience, right? That's really what you're paying for. And that's a mindset I think that we just miss, like especially if you come from like a yoga teaching, right? Where you're making like $40 and you're really not being paid fairly for what your time is worth. I still feel that way about going to teach yoga. I love it, but I don't even look at it as like a money maker for me because it's so much energy out versus what I'm getting back. But this
right.
is you, this is your baby. And if you're trying to make a living on this, right, you have to think about the hours that you're going to spend doing social media, writing emails, and then learning about those things too. I mean, all of that, it's all like once somebody's booked on your retreat, it's not just the cost of the bed, it's the cost of everything that took to get them there.
Yes, I totally agree. I think this is such a key message for anyone listening. It's not just about the bed. There's so much more behind. And like one of my specialties is loyalty marketing. And loyal customers spend 60% more than non-loyal customers. It's insane. It's crazy. So if you have someone who has an amazing experience, they are gonna be your best PR.
100%.
For
Yeah.
like some
There,
of
there's
them,
a
they can be better than ads.
Yeah, there's a course I'm taking right now that's like the money's in your list, right? Whether it's your
Mm.
email list or your friends list or whatever, your social media group or whatever, it's like that's where your people are, right? And there's no better marketing sales in the entire world than the experience of somebody who's done what you've done or done what you offer and had an amazing experience. Like that, I don't even really market. I just take videos and testimonials of people that have been on our retreats and I go, here, watch it. Like every time I talk to somebody on a booking website, an email, it's like one of the first blasts that goes out after you opt into our I'm like, don't listen to me. I'm like, go like listen to the other people that have done it. That's your low hanging fruit for sure.
Oh my God. Yes, I totally agree. And this is, I think, an awesome advice for people. And I have a video on YouTube about this, and it's so powerful. It's about testimonials, like how to get testimonials. Because, nowadays with AI, you can fake testimonials. They can even make a fake avatar. But really, really, like if you're doing transformational retreats, you don't need that. Just make sure that you're asking the people to do the testimonials for you because they are really your best PR. Like they can bring so many more clients than a Facebook ad. And I completely agree. Like you can waste so much money on ads if you're not doing it properly. Of course, you can also make a lot. I'm not saying there's no money to be made behind ads.
Sure.
But the reality is that the people who already experienced what you offer, they will speak about you so much more powerful, probably than even yourself.
100%. I just wrote a blog about artificial intelligence because it's been coming up. I was in a think tank about it recently that was really powerful just to see everybody's sort of opinion. And I think there's obviously utility to any technology. That's why technology exists, right? To streamline and make life easier. And but there's especially with something like a retreat, right? That's so intimate, it's so heart-centered, it's so it is an in-person experience at the deepest, most beautiful level, right? Strangers coming together. It goes all the way back to the beginning of us as humans, right?
No.
Just think about this if you're listening to this as a retreat leader. Like, do you really want to try to hook somebody to do that with something that Chat GPT wrote? Like, do you really want to put up pictures that aren't of you or your retreat guests or anything that has to do with you? Like, I just think we have to be really careful about wanting to bypass that human connection element because that is what a retreat is. Like it or not, like you're connecting to people and you're connecting them to each other and you're connecting them back to themselves, right?
Yeah, I love this because I do believe like retreats are a beautiful container or bubble where people come together with an intention. They intentionally choose to be there. It's not like they just randomly met in the supermarket, right?
Do you know how I named my and branded my first retreat?
Yeah, tell me.
I was a news producer. I worked in television and I lived on screens. So you sit in a television studio, there's just screens around you all day long. It's like it's something out of a sci-fi horror movie. And so when I was doing my first foray into like, okay, I'm gonna run retreats full time, I started reading entrepreneur books and like doing like the Tony Robbins and all that kind of stuff. And it's like, what's the problem that you're solving for people? And if you don't know, think about what's the problem you've been trying to solve for yourself. And for me, it was an addiction to screens. Like I've been so inundated with it. So I named my first retreats, and I still do. I still have my main branding is digital detox, 4-day digital detox retreats. And that has literally, I mean, that just that sentence, right, has inspired people to come from all over the world to our retreats.
Oh my gosh, I'm getting goosebumps. I love it. I'm just like, I'm like, my whole body is saying like, yes. But this is all about connecting with your purpose, right? And it's all about teaching someone something where like that you learned, right? Like something that you needed. Like at the end of the day, the people who are coming to your retreat, you want them to be like-minded individuals, right? They should be someone who would resonate with who you are. You don't want these uh, upset person who's gonna come and ruin the experience for everyone else. You want people who are similar to you, right? That feel a connection to who you are and what you're bringing onto the table, right? Like that they are, for example, in your case, looking to detox from the TV screens and the phones and all these things.
Yeah, it's one of the greatest gifts I give to people is just literally the ability to be off their device for 4 days. And that is a baseline for just so many people. And people come, like you said, meeting people where they are is so important. And they come with all different levels of like, I have people who've never taken a yoga class, never meditated a day in their life. And there's some of the people that have the most amazing experiences on our retreats. And then people who are coming who have that baseline, but they just want to up level it, right? And so the power, like you said, is in that bubble or in that container. I call it the incubator, right? Like it's like where people have that collective goal, right? To come and do the work, whatever the work is for you, right? And the work for you can be something more adventure-y or more, it doesn't have to be diving into the psyche with people, or, you know, it could just be literally giving them an opportunity to go hiking and suntanning and taking a nap is some of the greatest like experiences some people have on retreats. Are like, I just got to take a nap and it was amazing. Like, you know, like something as simple as that. So you're just providing that space for them. And I love what you said too about, you know, I think a lot about like us as human beings being bridge builders, you know, like we are wherever we are, and there's somebody that's 5 steps ahead of us who we can go learn from, and then there's somebody who's 5 steps behind us who we can help and support. And if you're always just doing that, like you said before this, like you're taking courses, you're doing a lot of stuff right now to up level your offerings, right? And so you're looking this way, but then there's the people who are at, you know, their baseline, and then they need the support to get you. So if you can just think about that, like think about like where were you when you started whatever it is. And a retreat doesn't have to be yoga and meditation. You could literally have a retreat around painting, photography. Like there's a bajillion things. If you're passionate about it, you know you can help somebody else. That's where I always tell people to start. Is like think about the thing that's made the biggest impact in your life. It's changed your life for the better. And then how do you build steps for somebody else? And then you can monetize it and all that stuff. But start there, right? Don't start with the monetization. Start with how to be a bridge builder, how to be a support, how to be a teacher for somebody who you know is just a few steps back from where you were once were. That's the best of what we are as human beings.
I love this advice. It's so, so powerful. And it's all about my main message and everything that I share. And that's why I was like so excited to have this conversation with you, because it's all about coming from the heart. And then everything else gets in place.
It really does. It really does. I've strayed off the path, admittedly, a few times of just like flashy things, people telling me how they could help my business with this thing, that thing, the technology thing, this, and really coming back to the essence of why I'm doing what I'm doing. And when people watch videos on my website where I talk about it, and then they come to the retreat and the feedback I love the most is they're like, you're really authentic. Like this really is who you are. This really is what you love. That's always been my North Star. Like that's always been like, what is it that's making an impact in my life? Okay, great. How can I learn as much as I can about it? Okay, great. And now how can I just shift that mindset into, I would just want to be able to teach it and bridge a gap to somebody else, right? Very few of us are going to make or create something out of the ether, right? Like with very small exceptions, there's 7 billion people on the planet. We've been evolving for, 14 billion years. It's like there's very few like very original, and it doesn't have to be. You can just take something that you already know exists and really helps you, but the way you deliver it, the way you understand it is going to be perfect for somebody. And again, that sales component, if you don't get it to them, you're doing a disservice to the world.
I love this piece about the disservice. Well, everything that you say, but the disservice. It's amazing. I love it. I really enjoy recording these like episodes and everything because it's just like it's always like like I don't know. That's why we meet beforehand and we make sure that we are all aligned with our messaging. And yeah, doing a disservice, it's so important. Like I started like seeing that, like because one of my coaches said once, like, because I was like, "Oh, I really don't feel like offering, like having a call and then offering something. I was just not really in the mood." He's like, "But what if they really needed your help? And just because you didn't say 5 words, you are doing a disservice to them." And I'm like, "Oh my gosh, you're so right." I was like,
I'm
so
gonna pause you
true.
for 1 second. My little robot vacuum just came into the room. Sorry.
All right. So we had a tiny, tiny pause break because the Roomba was uh, wanted to be part of this episode.
In fairness, it was what it is.
But yeah, so basically, like if we can sum up our call today is really all about connecting with your purpose. And then why don't you just give us a little bit of like, if you had like a couple of key takeaways for people who are running or planning to run retreats, that will be amazing.
Yeah, I mean, in looking around in like Facebook groups and masterminds and other places where people are wanting to do retreats, I see a lot of people celebrating their wins and doing a lot of talk and thinking about marketing and sales. And again, like that is an important component, but it's a service component of the overarching theme, which is that you're providing service to humanity, right? Like there are six-figure retreat leaders out there. There are people like I'm making a full-time income doing retreats, and COVID, like, kind of threw that off for a while, but like it is possible, right? But I will tell you again, like every time I sort of chase the idea of like monetization or growth just with a mindset of figures, the universe kicked me in the ass so quickly and brought me back down to square one, which is that you have to be obsessive about helping other people. You have to be obsessive first and foremost with yourself and really what it is that you're wanting to feel like and how you're wanting to show up in the world. My everyday starts with breathwork meditation for me. The same things that I teach on retreat, breathwork meditation first thing in the morning, are the same things I start my day with. And my anchor myself every single day. So breathwork, meditation, self-hypnosis of like, how do I want to feel? Right. And that's like so much of what I teach on retreats is the quantum model, the quantum physics model, right? Is not that you wait for the outer environment to line up a certain way so that you can feel a certain way. No, you obsess over feeling the way you want to feel, and then you allow it to condense into three-dimensional reality, right? I won't go into a whole quantum physics talk, but like you allow the external environment to reflect your internal environment, right? And once I figured out that component, right, then I wanted to express that to other people, right? That's really how all of this started. Breathwork's a tool, meditation's a tool, yoga movement's a tool, cold plunges are a tool, plant-based eating, nourishing your body in a really good way is a tool, conversation, community, vulnerability, all these things are like what I put in a pot and I stir up. But it started with doing it for myself first, right? So you see folks that are wanting to sell retreats about things that look pretty or they're flashy. If the substance isn't there, you might even be able to sell people on that, but really the experience is not going to be what you want it to be, what they want it to be. I can say with conviction and a little knock on wood, like I've never had anybody on a retreat that was anything less than stellar. Like I've had people that had amazing, transcendent, transformational experiences, and then I've had people with like really awesome experiences and really relaxed, and they came out feeling nourished and like they felt really good. But those are the only two slots. I've never had like, oh, I thought this was going to be a spa vacation, or I thought this was going to be trekking through the Himalayas. Like I never had that, right? Because my own compass is so dialed in and so clear. And I lose it again. Like there's times where I chase the pretty thing. I think about if I run Facebook ads at 1,000 a month, I can make 10,000 a month. And it's like, you just keep going and going and going. So my biggest thing, if I can offer to anybody who's either brand new to retreats or just wanting to level up the experience of what you're doing, start with yourself. Like really ask the questions of yourself. How do you want to feel? How do you want to show up in the world? And you get those things clear and those tools and those things clear, then you can become masterful in them. And then you could become just masterful enough that you can take it to somebody who's a few steps back. You don't have to be, the Deepak Chopra. You don't have to be Joe Dispenza. You don't have to be Brene Brown. You don't have to be any of those people, right? The way that you understand it, the way that it impacted you, your story of transformation through those practices, through those tools is going to be so perfect for somebody. You just have to trust in that and trust in the process. And then seek out help. Seek out people like you, right? Who can close the gap? Who are the bridge builders for you? Who are the people that can take away a few steps of things that maybe you're not good at or you don't even like to do? Like I did my own website and all this kind of stuff, but there's also things like I don't like doing photos on my retreats. Like I want to be involved in what I'm doing. So like I bring somebody in. I don't like doing the food on my retreats. So I bring somebody in to do that, right? Like figure out the bridges that you can kind of cross more quickly of things that maybe you don't want to become passionate about or you don't want to learn a lot about. So those are the biggest things I would say is just really clear in your purpose, really practicing what it is that you want to feel and how it is that you want to show up in the world. And then just learn enough about it that you can take it to somebody and then worry about monetizing it afterwards.
I love it. I think it's a beautiful, beautiful explanation and a way to connect everything that we just spoke about. And I do believe this episode is so powerful and useful for anyone who's looking to plan or planning retreats already and are wondering like, how do I take it into a business that I do every month, or how do I create this bridge that I'm missing with my purpose and the alignment, or how do I don't allow myself to get sidetracked by the flashy ads of like make 20,000 in 30 seconds kind of marketing. So if anyone wants to find you, Jan, and talk about more your retreats and like have a conversation, how can they do that?
Yeah, so the easiest way is to go to our website, our social medias. It's all pretty easy. It's SoCalWellnessRetreats.com, all one word. That's our website. Our Instagram is SoCal Wellness Retreats. Our Facebook is SoCal Wellness Retreats. Everything on there has my cell phone number. It is not hard to get in touch with me. I'm really, like I said at the beginning, I'm all about connection. I'm all about community. We also have a Telegram group that's a bunch of folks that are alumni to our retreat. So if you want to jump in there, it's totally free to join. It's a nice way to connect with people who've been through the experience, ask questions, see how they're inspired, see how they're challenged, see that they're just normal people like you and I. They're all different colors, shapes, backgrounds. They come from literally all parts of the world. So it's just a nice way. And then, yeah, like we're stepping now, like you and I were talking before the podcast about how do we bridge this gap for retreat leaders? So if you're somebody out there that's wanting help with retreats, that's another space that I'm going to start to step into more firmly with more clarity of like what it is that I can do and help people with. And so you can, again, just reach out to me in any one of those avenues.
That's amazing. And I believe that retreat leaders have to go on retreats themselves. It's not just about hosting them. So there is a huge invitation here, right? There's an invitation for all of you.
What you love, and you'll learn a lot about what you don't want to do and what you don't love. Yeah. Everything from the time you sign up to like how you're handled, how you're helped, how you're supported, to the retreat, to the aftercare, to all of that, and you can learn as you go, which is awesome.
Yeah, I totally agree. I did like 6 months of a retreat intensive. I was on retreats every weekend for 6 months because because I wanted to learn exactly what I wanted to offer from the other side, like what I wanted people to get when they came to my experiences, to my programs. So, and then through the process, I also transformed who I was into such a even better version of myself, right? So I highly recommend it.
I love that. I'm shopping right now. So if anybody has a kick-ass retreat that they want, especially if it's in Thailand, because I still can't find one. So, I'm open. I want to go. I want to go on something really soon. So, if you're listening to this and you have a great retreat, tell me. I'm also, the last thing I wanted to mention was, really understanding I've done this business mostly on my own. And now with running a retreat a month, we're obviously trafficking really well on the web. We're on all the booking websites, stuff like that. But I have a lot of people that come to me that are looking for retreats that maybe aren't a fit for us. So if you're out there and you're running a retreat, we just started an affiliate network of retreat leaders. So I'd love if you have something that you're really passionate about to add you to our kind of index of different retreats, and then doing cross promotion and potentially helping each other sell retreat spots. Because there's just so many, like you said before this, this call, like there's so many retreats and there's so many people that want to go on retreats. We don't have to be fighting with each other. We should be all trying to get people to the best retreat for them, right? And focusing on that.
Amazing. Well, thank you, John, for your time. It's been absolutely amazing. And for all of you who are listening to us, thank you for your time, and I'll see you on our next episode.